Hello there, fabulous people, back again with another of my deck collection videos, still in the tarots. I've entitled this one basically the dark coloured, dark named and dark themed decks. That's because to me, a lot of these could go in multiple categories. A lot of these I don't consider dark decks, but it was for the purposes of making it easier to put it into some form of a category. Plus, most of these decks sit on the one shelf. For me, that's why I've done it this way. So first up is the Dreams of Gaia Tarot. So we've got the big original version and the mini version. Both come in 2-part boxes, really lovely boxes. Your Dreams of Gaia, the original, is very glossy. This one has no titles, but it's beautiful matte and a gorgeous size. The book that comes with the big original one, even the feel of it is amazing. It's a beautiful like rose petal feel. The information you get on each card is fabulous. Just so much information on every card in this book. And very, very psychologically based, which is what I guess drew me to it. It's quite a different system in a lot of ways. A lot of people use this as an oracle because of that. In the small guidebook, all you actually get is, so this part, the keywords and the key phrases. You don't get any of the other information. Unfortunately, because it's probably one of the greatest things about this deck, is this book. All right, so let's have a look at a couple of the cards. Now again, I wouldn't put this in a dark deck, but just because it has that real psychological aspect to it. There's a lot of dragons and that kind of thing in the deck. These are the backs. There's a size difference. There's a lot of this type of dragon imagery that goes throughout. I mean, obviously there's nothing dark about this. But yeah, there's just something about this deck, the whole way the book's written, the deep dive that you can take with it. A lot of the images, not all of them, that made me put it in this category. Let me skip past a few. Yeah, definitely lots of these types of sort of face images that, you know, you're not really seeing eyes on, that kind of thing. Lots of more dragon type images throughout the deck. Yeah, so I've just chucked it into this category basically just because, really. But you can definitely deep dive with this deck. And I really, really enjoy this deck. I love it. I think there's so much to get out of it. Okay, so that is the Dreams of Gaia. Next up is another one that I do not consider a dark deck at all. And that is the Book of Shadows Tarot, the As Above and So Below editions. So, just gonna put the other boxes out of the way. This comes with 2 decks, so it comes with the As Above deck and the So Below deck. You get a nice magnetic box where your 2 decks sit. Book is pretty stock standard. In the As Above section, you get a heck of a lot more with your cards. With your So Below, this is all you're kind of getting, and this is even in your major arcanas. Okay. The names of it very much sort of follows the wheel of the year. As you can see there, Temperance is Astara, Lovers is Beltane, etc., etc., so forth. Yeah, so it's definitely meant more for that witch pathway. I'm not going to say Wiccan, or because I don't know and haven't read the book in a really long time, and that is not my forte. So let's have a quick look at the cards in the decks. Again, I don't consider these dark, particularly the So Below deck. So, and the So Below is very much designed to be kind of your more mundane, everyday life type stuff. I adore this. I think it's really great. I love the idea of having the two decks. When I have used it, which hasn't been for a long time now, I've loved using them both together. I love that this has gnomes all through it in the Pentacle suit. But yeah, as you can see in the As Above one, they're a lot kind of darker. You know what I mean? You know, this guy's looking pretty scary. I don't know if you'll see his facial expressions, but he's not the most pleasant looking dude in the world. Yeah, nothing dark over here in the So Below. But to me, they kind of come as a pair. It's called the Book of Shadows, and as I said, it's the kind of dark named decks. Not that I'm insinuating that it's dark and gloomy to have a Book of Shadows. That's very stereotypical. So please do not take offense to that. But yeah, I really like these two decks in unison with one another. I know a lot of people will only buy one or the other because you can buy them separately. But look at this. Ace of Swords. Like, that's just awesome. Really cool. So, yes, that is the Book of Shadows, As Above, So Below deck. Now, the next one is another one that I do not consider to be deep and dark. But I put it in because it is a very dark coloured deck. Okay, so this is the Steampunk Tarot, the Barbara Moore one. Comes with quite a good, very nice thick book. Yeah, pretty good book. Nothing bad to say, nothing from memory that stands out for me to talk about. I haven't read this book like from back to front or anything like that. But yes, so I need to edge this deck. This is the back of the cards. Actually, I don't think I showed the back of the others, did I? They have the same backs, except this is As Above and it's blue, and this is So Below and it's green. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, so this is in here pretty much because it's just a dark coloured deck, which I've included in the title as, you know, these decks will come under dark coloured decks. One of my fave High Priestesses of all decks. Not the fave, but a fave. Yeah, it's just got that whole gloomy overtone to the coloration of this deck. I freaking adore this deck, and I love using it with the steampunk. What are they called? Tea leaf reading or fortune? I don't know, something. Tea leaf fortune telling cards, I think it might be. But yeah, just because it's, well, it's a steampunk tarot, that's the aesthetic of it. The cards are definitely more on the dark side, coloration wise in particular is kind of why this is in this category. So it's quite a dark coloured deck, and I love it. I think it reads beautifully. Yeah, I do love, I've said it before, but I love pulling out these decks because it makes me go, oh, I need to reconnect with them. All right, that's enough of that one because there's quite a few in this category that I've shoved all together so we can get through them a bit quicker. All right, next up is the Halloween Tarot in a Tin. So this is here because of the name of it, pretty much. I do not find this, again, deep, dark, scary or spooky. These are the backs. I absolutely adore this deck. And again, we think about Halloween as being that, you know, darker time of year. So yeah, I thought I'd pop this in this category as well. I find this deck adorable. I can read with it at any time of year, particularly because in Australia we don't really, well, I haven't grown up celebrating Halloween. It's, I guess, getting more popular as time goes on here. and things become more Americanized, but yeah. But yes, it's got all your ghosties and your pumpkins and your black cat that goes through every card in the deck. Yeah, so this guy looks terrified on the Wheel of Fortune. So yes, that is the Halloween Tarot in a tin. Oh, I could just look through this deck all day long. But we must keep on moving on. We'll be here for hours. All right, the next one again, I've put this one in, the Nicoletta Ciccoli, purely really because of other people's perception of this deck. It just comes in a tuck box with your stock standard kind of little white book. I understand why this deck gives people the creeps. These are the backs. Because, you know, there's some kind of creepy shit that goes on in this deck. And creepy looking, mostly female figures in the deck. Very nightmarish stuff almost. So again, it's not a deck I view in that way. I actually think I just look at it as being really beautiful, unique artwork, and I like weird and wonderful and all of that. But yeah, I've put it in here because it is a deck that I completely understand how some people can be a little creeped out by it. I know people use this deck to do shadow work, particularly if it revolves around childhood. So yeah, I guess there's an eeriness to this deck if you look at it from a certain perspective. I just think it's adorable, and I love the creep factor to it, to be quite honest. So yes, all right, so that's the Nicoletta Ciccoli deck. So the next one I'm going to show you is one that I do not have a box for. And it is the Ghosts and Spirits Tarot by Lisa Hunt. This is the back. A lot of people complain that they hate the backs because it's not in keeping with the front, and it's not. It doesn't match at all. It doesn't bother me. I like the back. I really, really like this deck. There's a good lot to look into in this deck. So definitely has a creep factor to a lot of the cards. Again, it's in here because of the name of the deck being Ghosts and Spirits, because it does have some of your more creepy images in it, and it is more of that dark tone coloration to it. You know, all of the cards are really kind of dense and dark in their color. But yeah, I really love this deck. So yeah, that's the Ghosts and Spirits Tarot in my collection. All right, where are we going to go to next? All right. Next is our Santa Muerte Tarot. Again, I freaking love this deck. I think it's adorable. Beautiful box. Very cute little book that comes with it, and it gives the advice of the dead. Yeah, beautiful presentation to that one. And I just need to find where I put the deck. Here we go. It is a very glossy deck. I call this my husband's deck because that's the back. Yeah, he loves skulls and that kind of thing. When I've read for him, quite often it's been with the Santa Muerte deck. Again, I totally get why this is not everyone's aesthetic. I hummed and hawed, and I never had a thing for this deck. I never liked it. I never wanted it. I believe the first kind of larger walkthrough that I actually sat through most of it, if not all of it, was Rochelle at Amethyst Ascension when she went through this deck, and it took my eye. Like, in some of these cards, there's just so much detail in them. But yeah, I mean, it definitely has has a bit of a creep factor to it in some of the cards, but I find it great. And it reads absolutely beautifully. So yeah, it's dark in imagery, it's dark in coloration for the most part. I say that as I turn over 3 lighter cards. But yeah, love, love, love this deck. And it will forever be attached to, you know, my husband when I think of this deck. All right, keeping with the same themed box, I'll have a look at Tarot de la Nuit. Very similar with the box style, similar style with your book. A lot of people do not like the aesthetic of this deck because it is an extremely stereotypical, all, you know, beautiful, perfectly thin females and extremely buff macho males. These are the backs. Got to crease through that card. I really like this aesthetic. This kind of aesthetic in a deck, there's something about it that, I don't know, reminds me of fantasy stories like that my grandma would tell as I was growing up. Put this in this category because it is called Tarot de la Nuit, so Tarot of the Night. And there's some pretty dark imagery in there. Like, I love that. I mean, it's creepy, but I love that. And yes, it is not a diverse deck, as so many of our tarot decks are not. But yeah, the males in this particularly irk me. But yeah, I consider it to be in this category for me, for the coloration, largely. Yeah, for the title of it, a lot of the imagery in the decks, you know, quite gothic based, darker. So yes, that is Tarot de la Nuit. All right, next up is the Night Sun Tarot. Typical kind of low scarabeo tuck box and little white book inside. I have never read with this deck for the pure and simple reason that the guidebook is shit and it's a deck that needs a good guidebook. These are the backs. This is creepy shit going on in this deck, I have to say. There is all sorts of weird and wonderful in this deck. Excuse me. And it's such a shame that you don't get a great guidebook for this deck, because I think if this deck had a great guidebook, even though this is not my favorite imagery, I just think you could get so much out of it if you had a guidebook that talked about the ins and outs of it. Okay, so these are all very pippish, the minors. Let's have but yeah, there's a lot of creepy stuff going on when you get down into the fine details of this deck. But you get nothing about what's happening. You get nothing about the extra pieces in the imagery. I mean, as you can tell, it's pretty well ordered because, you know, I've never read with it. It annoyed me from the second I got it and kind of couldn't get any info about what the hell is going on, particularly, I mean, your minors are okay because they're largely pippish, but particularly in your majors. And I think it really does this deck an injustice. Yeah, I mean, even that Lovers, that's a freaky looking Lovers card. Yeah, so interesting deck for sure. Look at that Hermit. Like, I wouldn't want to come across that particular Hermit in the woods somewhere. So yeah, that is the Night Sun Tarot. Next one, this is one again that I don't really consider in any way, shape or form a dark deck. It is the Modern Spellcasters Tarot. It's in here pretty much because of the name of it, being spellcasting, you know, and it's your kind of typical Llewellyn magnetic box guidebook, despite being nice and chunky, is very disappointing. Another one that doesn't tell you what's going on in the images, and some of the images are quite different in here, and it would be very nice to know why the artist did things the way that they did it. So that's kind of a shame about this deck. And again, I'm not saying Spellworks dark, you know, so I'm not trying to be stereotypical in that way. It's just one way of categorizing decks. These are the backs, not my fave backs. There, you know, it definitely is on the darker side as well, as far as a lot of the coloration. Not in all of the cards, as you can see by these ones I'm turning over, but yeah, I don't know. I love this deck. I think it reads beautifully. It is a nice, diverse deck. Yeah, I mean, it could be more diverse, as could most decks, but there is a lot of diversity in this deck, and I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, it will always have a special place in my heart. This is one particular reason I put this in this category, is because of this High Priestess. Because I don't have an issue with the High Priestess as such, but I don't like this High Priestess as such either. I always look to the High Priestess card. It's one of my favorite cards in the deck. And this High Priestess definitely falls into the dark, creepy side to me. But again, there's nothing in the guidebook to say why she's depicted the way she is. But yeah, it will always have a special place in my heart because this is a deck that my hubby bought for me. And yeah, so no huge reason why it's in the dark category, with the exception of a few of the cards being a little bit creepy. Adore, this is one of my favorite Chariot cards. A few of the cards being darker in color tone and kind of having that mystical, magical aspect to them. It's a very creepy devil card, I have to say. You know, so yeah, that is Modern Spellcasters. Okay, what is next? Let's look at the Tarot of Haunted House. Again, low scarabée, typical tuck box, typical little white book that comes in this one. I really do like this deck. I'm losing cards. This is the back of the deck, which I actually love. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely got that overtone of creepy haunted house going on. Again, I'm not scared by any of my decks in that sense. Just a way to categorize them. I really love that Ace of Cups. I think that is magical. There is what I think surprised me the most with the Lightseers Tarot was when the Ten of Swords card got changed and there was a lot of controversy. Well, there is a card in this deck, and I won't bring it up unless we come to it, and unless you know which card I'm talking about, but that is very in your face with what's going on from a self-harm perspective. Far more disturbing than the Ten of Swords and the Lightseers Tarot. So this was the deck I instantly thought about, and I'm not sure off the top of my head which card it actually is unless I see it, but yeah, this deck definitely came to mind with all the controversy around that Ten of Swords card. But yeah, look at this Hierophant. That's creepy shit going on right there. Even this Justice, you know, that's scary looking nurse in the haunted house. So yeah, I do love this deck though. So that is Tarot of Haunted House. Okay, then next up we'll have a look at the Ghost Tarot, another Los Scarabeo deck, typical Los Scarabeo box and little white book. I got this deck for a very specific reason, and that was just to really connect more to that spirit aspect, just because of the way, these are the backs, the way the cards are drawn, the way the ghosts in these cards are drawn, really directs your eye to, well, my eye, to a focal point. So you've got ones where you've got humans, but then you've got the ghosts as well. So this deck for me was really about, okay, well, what are the spirits in this deck saying? You know, or ghosts. I know they call them ghosts because that is the name of the tarot deck. Again, certainly not everybody's cup of tea, this deck, just because it, you know, it can definitely be considered dark imagery. I mean, even the Fool is kind of a creepy looking dude. But yeah, I really love this deck. But again, use it in very specific ways. But yeah, I just want to play with all my decks again. So yeah, that is the Ghost Tarot deck. All right, next up, and I think we're getting close to the end, is the Beautiful Creatures Tarot. I don't know if this will fit in. Again, oh, sorry, it comes in magnetic box. One of these 2-part boxes, so I don't keep my cards in there because that irritates the crap out of me. Yeah, not a bad book that comes with it. You get your nice coloured pictures. These cards do have keywords on them. If I can find where I sat the cards to actually do this. Oh, maybe because I didn't unwrap them from the bag I keep them in. Very good, Jen. Okay, so mine is not the first edition. It's got the silver gilding, which does chip very easily. These are the backs. And again, I've put this in here, similar reason to Nicoletta Ciccoli, because I do know a lot of people are kind of creeped out by this type of artwork. These girls with the oversized heads and eyes, and yeah, there's definitely some darker images in here. Most of the illustrations, they kind of look very sad and gloomy. Even the High Priestess, I mean, she, I don't know, looks like she's suffered a really bad allergic reaction to something. But in saying that, I absolutely adore this art style. I think it's beautiful. But yeah, definitely, I don't know, just darker in coloration and that as well. So, and if you're not, you know, I think people are either or aren't a fan of Jasmine Beckett Griffith's artwork, and that's going to really make the difference whether or not you resonate with this tarot. There's certainly not a lot in it that follows like your Rider-Waite-Smith system as far as imagery goes. It's more just the imagery with the name attached to it, and there are a couple of extra cards like your other one. So yes, that is the Beautiful Creatures Tarot. I do particularly love this deck. And I believe last up to show is my Tarot of Vampires. Again, your typical Llewellyn magnetic box with your ribbon. Most people have heard about this and have heard about the great book that comes with it. As you can tell, I have read it and I've sort of marked a few pages, but I've not read this all the way through, back to front, that kind of thing. It's one I always told myself I would because everyone raves about it. But it's, you know, I guess it's a time thing. So many decks, so little time, right? I adore this deck. I've edged mine in this beautiful red to match the gorgeous backs of these cards. So yeah, this one kind of fits in the way of all three categories. Dark imagery, dark theme, dark colours, and darkly named being the Vampire Tarot vampires. Again, I'm not being disrespectful to vampires, but they live in the dark, right? So yeah, some definite interesting cards in this deck. But oh, I haven't used this deck for such a long time, and I do love this deck so much. It's not diverse as far as body type and all of that of the people or the vampires in it. Aside from that, though, I think it's a beautiful deck. I think it's very beautifully done. Yeah, so that is Tarot of the Vampires, and that is it, I do believe, in my dark named, dark themed, and dark coloured decks. So thank you for watching this one, and I will see you in the next tarot collection video. Bye guys.